Most men believe they are treated differently because they lack effort. They assume respect increases when they speak louder, prove more, argue harder, or assert themselves with greater intensity. But effort is rarely the variable that changes perception. People do not treat you differently because you try harder. They treat you differently when you become harder to move. There is an invisible rule operating beneath every interaction. It is not announced, and it is rarely discussed openly. It is observed quietly. The moment you become emotionally reactive, your position becomes negotiable. The moment you stabilize, perception shifts. Few men realize the moment you stop reacting, hierarchy recalibrates. When you refuse to flinch at subtle disrespect, when your tone does not sharpen under pressure, when your posture does not collapse under scrutiny, something subtle changes. Others begin to measure you differently. Social dynamics are less about what you say and more about how stable you remain. The one who governs himself governs the room. This rule is invisible because it is psychological. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand the invisible rule, the behavior of others becomes easier to interpret. People test you not because they hate you, but because hierarchy must be sensed before it is acknowledged. Human beings possess a status detection instinct. Long before formal titles or achievements are evaluated, posture, tone, and emotional control are scanned. The nervous system reads stability. It reads hesitation. It reads confidence. This happens beneath conscious awareness. Emotional probing is part of that process. A dismissive remark, a subtle interruption, a sarcastic comment. These are often calibration tools. They are small disturbances introduced to observe reaction. If you tighten, over-explain, or escalate, the hierarchy adjusts accordingly. Dominance calibration does not always appear aggressive. It can be casual, almost playful. But the intent is diagnostic. People want to know, are you grounded, or are you easily moved? Shadow projection intensifies this dynamic. Insecurity in others seeks instability in you. If someone senses emotional volatility, they unconsciously push further. They are not always malicious. They are assessing. Reactive individuals respond instinctively. Their identity rises and falls with social friction. Stable presence operates differently. It absorbs tension without amplifying it. It does not need to prove itself in the moment. Most men misinterpret testing as personal hostility. You realize it is structural. Social systems recalibrate through feedback. If your emotional stability remains intact, the probing slows. Understanding this reframes social tension. It is not persecution. It is measurement. And measurement becomes opportunity when you remain unmoved. If people test stability, then the decisive shift is simple, though rarely practiced. Emotional non-reactivity. Non-reactivity does not mean emotional numbness. It means containment. It means feeling the surge without broadcasting it. Most men attempt to control situations. Few understand that the real leverage lies in controlling expression. Micro-expressions are the first battlefield. A tightened jaw, widened eyes, a flash of irritation. These signals are detected instantly. Even when words remain composed, the face can betray volatility. Emotional containment begins with awareness of these subtle cues. The more disciplined your expressions, the more stable your presence appears. Tone regulation follows. Under pressure, voices often rise or sharpen. Pace accelerates. Urgency creeps in. Controlled tone communicates composure. It suggests deliberation rather than defense. A steady voice repositions authority without a single dominant gesture. Eye contact becomes another anchor. Reactive individuals break gaze or intensify it aggressively. Grounded stillness maintains balanced eye contact. Neither evasive nor confrontational, it signals internal equilibrium. Pause discipline completes the shift. Silence, when deliberate, creates recalibration. Instead of rushing to respond, a measured pause forces the other person to sit with their own words. Few men realize how destabilizing calm silence can be. Contrast explosive reaction with grounded stillness. The explosive man attempts to reclaim status through volume or argument. The grounded man reclaims it through steadiness. One amplifies tension, the other absorbs it. This single shift, emotional non-reactivity, alters perception immediately. It transforms you from a participant in the exchange into its axis. Restraint, when practiced consistently, becomes visible power. When you stop reacting, something subtle but decisive begins to change. The atmosphere shifts before the conversation does. Perception recalibrates. Those who expected agitation encounter steadiness instead. That steadiness forces reassessment. People unconsciously adjust their evaluation of you when their provocation fails to produce movement. Stability signals depth, depth signals weight. Hierarchy recalibrates quietly. In social systems, position is fluid until it is reinforced. If you remain grounded under subtle challenge, the implicit message is clear. Your internal state is not easily accessed. Access determines influence. When influence decreases, hierarchy adjusts. Testing reduces over time. People instinctively test those who appear reactive because reaction reveals leverage. When leverage disappears, the incentive to probe weakens. Stability becomes a deterrent. Gravity increases, not through force but through consistency. Others begin to anticipate composure from you. Anticipation builds trust. Trust builds authority. Authority builds distance from trivial conflict. Silence contributes to this shift. When you do not rush to clarify or defend, ambiguity enters the exchange. Ambiguity creates caution. Others hesitate before escalating because they cannot easily read your next move. Few men understand that silence is not absence. It is pressure redistributed. By withholding reaction, you move tension away from yourself and back onto the situation. What happens when you stop reacting is not dramatic. It is structural, and structural shifts, once established, are difficult to reverse. Constant reaction carries a cost that rarely announces itself immediately. It erodes position gradually. Reputation erosion begins with small moments. A sharp reply here, visible frustration there. Individually, they appear justified. Collectively, they shape perception. Over time, you are not remembered for competence, but for volatility. Authority depends on stability. When stability fluctuates, confidence in you diminishes. Emotional volatility compounds the damage. If your mood shifts in response to minor provocations, others begin to anticipate instability. Anticipation changes how they approach you. Conversations become cautious or manipulative. Your reactions become part of the environment. Social predictability follows. When people know exactly what will unsettle you, they gain leverage. They can steer conversations, escalate tension, or redirect focus with minimal effort. Predictable reactions make you easy to navigate. Cognitive exhaustion deepens the cost. Emotional exchanges linger. You replay them internally, refine arguments, anticipate future friction. Attention narrows, energy drains, focus fragments. If you are easily moved, you are easily measured. And what can be measured can be managed. The danger is not a single reaction. It is the pattern. Patterns shape hierarchy. Hierarchy shapes opportunity. Constant reaction does not merely affect mood. It influences trajectory. The cost is subtle at first. Over time, it becomes structural. And few men recognize the erosion until their authority has already thinned. Pause for a moment and look inward. Who truly controls your mood? When someone challenges you, interrupts you, or questions your competence, what shifts first? Your reasoning or your emotional state? Do words change your posture? Does a careless remark tighten your jaw, narrow your focus, or accelerate your speech? These micro-movements are not accidental. They are signals. Ask yourself another question. Are you defending ego or protecting position? Ego seeks immediate relief. It wants to respond, to prove, to correct. Position requires distance. It values long-term stability over short-term satisfaction. Few men master stillness under pressure. It is easy to remain composed when respected. It is difficult when tested. That difficulty is precisely why it carries weight. Notice your patterns. Observe when irritation surfaces. Observe how quickly you justify yourself. Do not condemn the reaction, study it. Authority begins with internal ownership. Sovereignty begins when you decide that your emotional state will not be dictated by external friction. If you are easily moved, your position moves with you. If you remain steady, the structure stabilizes around you. Stillness is not weakness. It is discipline under observation. Emotional non-reactivity becomes visible through microcontrol. Authority is rarely declared. It is communicated through subtle signals. Facial neutrality is the first discipline. The face reacts faster than speech. A raised eyebrow, tightened lips, or visible irritation can undermine stability instantly. Neutral expression does not mean lifelessness. It means containment. When your face remains steady under pressure, observers register composure. Voice modulation follows. Under stress, tone sharpens or rises. Pace accelerates. Words spill. Controlled modulation slows cadence and lowers volume slightly. A steady voice communicates deliberation. It signals that you are choosing words rather than being driven by them. Deliberate pacing reinforces this effect. Pauses between sentences create gravity. They suggest thought rather than urgency. Rushed speech suggests defense. Measured pacing suggests control. Body alignment completes the structure. Shoulders relaxed but upright. Minimal unnecessary movement. Stable posture. The body either amplifies tension or absorbs it. Aligned posture absorbs it. Subtle signals reshape perception because they operate beneath conscious awareness. Others may not articulate why they perceive you as grounded, but they feel it. Stability in micro-behaviors builds macro-authority. Few men understand that discipline is visible long before argument begins. Mastery of small signals compounds over time. Identity becomes embodied rather than performed. Microcontrol is not cosmetic. It is structural. It refines how you are read, and how you are read determines how you are treated. Authority is rarely dramatic. It accumulates through repetition. Respect compounds when behavior remains consistent across situations. A single moment of composure may go unnoticed. A pattern of composure becomes reputation. When your emotional stability does not fluctuate with friction, others begin to anticipate steadiness from you. Anticipation builds trust. Trust builds weight. Consistency is the invisible multiplier. If you respond calmly one day and react sharply the next, perception fractures. But when your regulation is predictable, hierarchy stabilizes around you. Stability signals reliability. Reliability signals authority. Emotional stability gradually creates social gravity. People lower their tone around those who remain composed. They test less frequently. They adjust posture unconsciously. Gravity is not forced. It is felt. Contrast loud dominance with silent authority. Loud dominance seeks to control the room through volume and visible assertion. It often demands recognition. Silent authority requires neither spectacle nor aggression. It rests on internal discipline. Few men understand that quiet consistency outlasts dramatic displays. Over time, silence becomes more influential than argument. Stability becomes more persuasive than force. Long-term authority is built quietly because discipline rarely announces itself. It reveals itself through repetition. And repetition reshapes perception in ways noise never can. Step back from the individual exchange and observe the broader environment. We live in a culture that rewards reaction. Outrage cycles dominate attention. Emotional spectacle generates visibility. Volatility spreads faster than composure. Social platforms amplify impulse. A slight becomes a broadcast. A disagreement becomes performance. The more emotionally charged the response, the greater the engagement. Stability rarely trends. This environment conditions men toward immediate expression rather than measured restraint. Public reaction becomes proof of authenticity. Calmness is mistaken for weakness. Noise replaces discipline. Contrast this reactive culture with the disciplined minority. While many rush to comment, defend, or escalate, a smaller group remains steady. They do not treat every friction as a call to battle. They understand that attention is not authority. Few men realize that in a volatile culture, stability becomes rare, and rarity increases value. Outrage creates visibility. Discipline creates hierarchy. When reaction becomes normal, composure becomes power. And those who master it position themselves differently within a world addicted to impulse. We return to the central principle. Do this once, stabilize your reactions, and everything changes. Not overnight, not dramatically, but structurally. The man who cannot be moved understands that the true contest is internal. He does not flinch at subtle disrespect. He does not rush to defend his pride. He does not overperform in the presence of perceived hierarchy. His identity does not expand and contract with social friction. He governs himself. That governance is visible. It appears in stillness under pressure, in measured tone under scrutiny, in posture that does not collapse when challenged. He does not require immediate validation. He does not chase reaction. He observes first. Over time, others recalibrate around him. Testing decreases. Volatility fades. Stability becomes expectation. Few men recognize how quickly hierarchy shifts when emotional access disappears. The absence of reaction removes leverage. The absence of urgency removes predictability. Composure becomes quiet dominance. The next time you are tested, do not rush to prove. Do not rush to defend. Observe before acting. Notice the impulse. Then decide deliberately. Strength is not loud. It is disciplined. Authority is not demanded. It is embodied. Beyond the struggle, where discipline replaces impulse, and clarity replaces chaos.